I say that I get woke up, I'll be better. But anyway. All right, so I have the recorder running. So we're going to start with you guys telling us what you found about on social media. Let me find I'll just start with that. So I'll start with you, Corey. What did you find when you looked up your company on social media?
Well, I found a great deal about our history. And this is well known within the ranks here. We certainly know our history because Mike beats it in our brains every so often. But Rhyme is 134 years old, and we started off as a pharmacy in downtown Portage that eventually went into office products. I don't know, they might have started selling pens or pencils, but then eventually moved into typewriters, and then soon after, or it was before Mike bought the business, in around 1980, they purchased their first computer and then began selling them as well. So the person that actually did the work on the computers then is still with us today, and has grown immensely in his responsibilities. I also, they have posted that we have 10 locations. We are a family-owned business, and we had 23 posts on or reviews, and our average rating is a 5.0. So I went across and researched one of our competitors, one of our larger competitors. They are 65 years old. They have 31 locations compared to our 10 in the upper Midwest. They just opened a new office in Sioux Falls, South Dakota in April of 2021.
And they are also, I know who that competitor is.
Yeah, they are also family owned, and they only had 3 reviews posted, and their score was a 4.0. But when I noticed some consistencies between our organization and their organization was the reviews were primarily about service experiences, but they both had a great deal of information about events that they may, what's the word I'm looking for, sponsor. Many different fundraisers, many different scholarships, a lot of scholarships for people that are affected by cancer. A lot of posts related to what our business and what their business can do for COVID assistance in the home office arena, with Jan sand supplies, home office setup, equipment and furniture. That's primarily what I saw. It seemed to be a lot of redundancy as I went through the different areas, the reviews, the posts, and the community sections. It was pretty much the same information on both sides of the equation there. So that's pretty much what I found out of it.
Okay. And we're going to, as we go through the lesson today, we'll talk about a couple places you may not have looked. We'll see if anybody else found them. Okay, let's go to Allison.
Oh.
Good morning. Can everybody hear me?
Yep, we can hear you. Good morning.
I always feel like everybody can't hear me. All right. Well, what I found on ours is we have been in business since 1958. Our owner was named Herb. Sorry. He owned the business, and when he passed away, his sons David and Chris Carson took over, and now here we are, and then we have 5 owners here now. Gosh, I don't remember how many people do we have here, guys?
28.
20, yeah, I was gonna say around 28, 30 people. We're here at one location, and we serve the upstate of. Sorry, I'm in class.
Okay, thank you.
Sorry, guys. We serve the upstate, Greenville, Spartanburg, Anderson. Sorry, I lost my train of thought. They interrupted me.
You serve the upstate.
Yes, we serve the upstate. I found that in my search that we have a 4.5 to 5.0 rating. I didn't find very many reviews on the internet. What I found was all good reviews. I did find one on us that wasn't supposed to be ours. It was come up as Plus Inc., but it was a vision center so that was like it was a wrong one. In my comparison, I did advanced business equipment, and they have locations all over the place. There's one locally, they're in New York, I think there's one in Pennsylvania, so they're across the states. As far as how many years, I couldn't find how long they've been in business. Why are you laughing at me, Robert?
Your phone keeps ringing.
Their business rating is the same as ours. As far as reviews go, same as reviews. They got, positive reviews as well as negative reviews. I don't know what else really to share. I didn't know how much, we were supposed to look up on this, but I found us listed in a lot of places locally, as far as like the Chamber of Commerce and things like that. It had, little snippets of us and about us and things like that.
Hey, Kyle.
Found us in a lot of
It's a jump
locations.
machine.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
All right. Well, that's very good. Thank you. And we will go to, let's go to Phil.
All right. I looked up on my company, Image Business Solutions. I was kind of surprised on our website. It doesn't, and it's not done by us. It's done by another company, which we used to do it ourselves. It actually doesn't even talk about how the company was started and who started it, but it was a brother and sister that started it, Matt and Liz Whitrow. And it started 18 years ago, just the two of them in a tech. It's still being ran by Matt. On Google reviews, I found only 6 of them we had. We had one bad review, but the person didn't list anything why it was a bad review, and our owner did reach out to him, and the person did not respond back. So I don't even know if it really was a review on our company. Otherwise, we were a 4.6 out of 5. And then also we do have a Facebook page, which I went on there, took a look at that real quick. Everything's pretty positive on there. There was nothing really negative. A lot of our customers are on that site. Then our biggest competitor is a company called UTech, which is also a Sharp dealership. They only had 6 reviews also, and theirs were all 5.0s, but it didn't really look too real as far as the reviews went to me with the comments and that. So I'm not even sure it was done by customers. They cover mostly Ann Arbor area. Oh, by the way, our company covers all of Michigan, but they cover just mainly the Ann Arbor area, and then into areas around us, which our main location is in Wixom, Michigan, which is by Detroit. Otherwise, the only thing they have up on us is they have their own IT service. We don't. We're in the process of working on that, which is a big thing for us. But right now they are able to outshine us on that point.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Robert?
Mike. Sorry, I had to turn on the mic there. Well, you already got a preview of Plus Inc. Obviously, we've been around since 1958, selling calculators out of the back of a car. So we've jumped a long way since then. As far as, being the IT manager, I pretty much got a good handle on what's going on, even though I don't control it. Social media wise, if you can't see the full spelling of my name, if you type in my name, you get recipes for beef bourguignon, 92,000 pages of recipes for food, and a picture of my dad. So so social media wise, I get taken over by French food. Plus we do Facebook social media wise, posting roughly monthly, sometimes more, sometimes less, mostly right on monthly. We send out a monthly newsletter that highlights some stuff going on at the company, something, a product. And then also we do a lot of nonprofit support, different nonprofits in the area, Humane Society, Medical Center, stuff like that. LinkedIn is another one we're on. They post monthly, sometimes less, if you look at the average. I already talked about the newsletter, but we have a monthly newsletter that we print and hand out as we go out to people's offices that highlight the company, special product on sale that month, or, something new. Also, employee spotlight sometimes. We have a gift card giveaway every month for somebody who answers a ridiculously easy question, just to get people engaged. So that seems to work pretty good. Our webpage is relatively new, I think within the last 2 years. So it's been updated. It has all the Kanika and Rico product line we carry, just so people can search out and find what they're doing. It also offers our LinkedIn and Facebook and employee profiles, our IT. I wouldn't say the word unique is the word, but in the area, we're one of the few Konica Rico dealers that also offer IT services. So there are a couple of other companies in the area that do it. So I started looking at these other, obviously KM Direct has All Covered, and they have a pretty good website. If you knock on their website, they got a pretty good website, except for that hack that happened a few months ago. They've been pretty good. I don't know what that says about All Covered, but and then
You should be
local
ashamed
company.
of yourself, Robert.
Why? Picking on them?
No, hacking them.
No, it wasn't me. No, I'm not. I am not a hacker. A couple other companies that are similar to us that I found in the market were Morris Business Solutions. They carry Xeroxes, and they have IT services also, roughly offering what we do. We're a full service IT department, VPNs, multi-locations, Office 365, hosted Exchange, virus scan, all the RMM, remote monitoring, maintenance. That's my department. That's what I handle. I really don't handle MFPs too much. And then another one in the area was Advanced Business Solutions or Systems. I'm not sure which one it is. They're actually out of nearby Asheville, or as close as nearby as you can get. They have a small office here in this area, but they also offer IT, and I think they carry Konicas. I didn't really dig that deep into them. Their Facebook presence is a little bigger than ours. They seem to post rather regularly, every week or so. Also, they have a LinkedIn profile, and that's pretty much all I saw with them, though. KM, obviously Konica has Facebook and I don't know that they're on Instagram, but LinkedIn is one. Twitter, they do tweet, and so does Advance. And then the other dealer in the area, or other place in the area that's playing in the IT field is Sharp, Sharp Direct. They also, obviously they carry Sharps, and IT services, hosted Exchange, stuff like that, hosted managed IT services. So that kind of does it for what I dug around in.
Okay, thank you. Raquel, your turn.
I did forget my notes at home, so I'm trying to gather all my information here. So what I found with my company, Team Solutions Group, it started with Dave Aiken, who is the president of the company, and it was founded in 2006. And we have a rate of 5.0. And I didn't really find too much on social media. I know we have Facebook and LinkedIn. I didn't find a lot of reviews as well. We are a company of 25 employees, and we have our webpage as well. And our competitor right now is Canon, which is a worldwide printing company with global, capabilities. And they offer they have a really big IT and service and support. And we kind of have the same similarities of organizations. But obviously, they're a bigger company.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's what I have right now.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Curtis, I'll just let you tell me what you found that was different than what Robert and Allison said, so you don't have to duplicate so much. And you're still muted.
Okay, I think I'm unmuted now.
Yeah.
I went about it a little bit different. I just went on Google and pretended I was looking for a copier company, and I said copier dealers in the Greenville area to see what would pop up. And luckily, Plus Incorporated popped up first, so I thought that was awesome. And then how I decided who I would compare us to is I went to the second company on the list, and we're bringing up here in front of me, and it was Key Office Systems. And what I found is we are certified on the Better Business Bureau, and they're not. And also we have 0 reviews or 0 complaints. I did find that we had some reviews on Google, and there were some really positive. There's a couple really negative, and what stuck out about the negatives is they were pretty much lies. So that is, I think maybe that's something we need to focus on, get more good stuff in there. And I noticed that there are a lot of Plus Incs on the internet, so it can get really confusing trying to figure out what company you're looking for. And actually, I found they'll like Fiber Plus Inc., Housing Plus Inc., HC Plus Inc., Cable Plus Inc. I even found another Plus Inc. in India that I thought was, pretty wild.
So you're a global company.
Yes, sir. Facebook has a really good, Plus Inc. has a really good Facebook presence. We're on LinkedIn. I didn't see Key Office on LinkedIn. And I think that's pretty much what I got.
Okay. All right. Well, very good. So you guys did some good research. I'm going to share a couple of things with you. Actually, I'm going to start with LinkedIn profiles. I didn't look at any of yours. I could have, I guess, but I didn't. Let me find a window I can open a LinkedIn. And just to make it interesting, what I do, let me share my screen so you can see.
Okay.
Can you repeat what you just said?
Okay, share screen. Share that screen. Okay, and so I'm just going to my connections, and I'm going to pick a couple of people just right off the top of my list here, just to see something. Okay, so we'll look at his. His looks pretty good. His is good. Okay. So look at this guy, and what company is he with? He is the CFO at Copylight down in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. Okay, and I'm going to talk about his profile. His picture's good. But let's go back to, we're going to go back. Went the wrong way too far. Let me go back here. But look at the difference between this profile and the one right before that. And so I'll show you my profile. And this was something that I learned that I had not paid any attention to. So where's my profile? View profile. And so when you look at your profile on LinkedIn, you should make sure that you have some kind of corporate messaging behind you. And I will encourage you to make sure that everybody's profile in the corporation is similar. And then you want to tell a little bit about you should have your about page. Some of this obviously is going to be associated with, that'll be specific to me. But you want to try to make sure that your profile section is filled out for you. And the other thing is you should check and make sure all of your texts, at least, you should, if they're on LinkedIn, and I would encourage you to encourage them to be on LinkedIn. I would encourage you to make sure that they all have the corporate profile, because it's just more ways people can find you. And then I would encourage you to be a little more active. Everybody talked about LinkedIn. So let's see. So this was just my last little period. I've had 362 people viewed my profile. People 66. This would be just my last post, which was this morning. I've had 66 people view that post. But then there was that post, 139 people saw it, 71. Okay. And of course, I've been posting about flat rate and commenting. But one of the things and this is a LinkedIn strategy that you guys can use to help build your brand and build awareness, is connect with your customers on LinkedIn. And this is what, as a corporate policy, I would encourage this. But even as service management, I would still encourage this, is connect with your customers. And when your customers post something on LinkedIn and you see it in the feed, you should follow them. And then when you see them post something in the feed, if you can comment nicely on what they posted, comment on it every once in a while. I'm not saying spend hours a day, though. I spend hours a day doing this because this is how I grow my business. This is how I have 1,500 connections. But when you do that, what do you think that, let's say that you made a post on LinkedIn and somebody commented on it. Let's say I commented on your post on LinkedIn and made a positive comment. How would you feel about me and my business?
Feel good. It's building a relationship.
Yeah. So it's a tool to build a relationship. And so if you guys as a company aren't doing this, you might think about it. It's one of those things you can take up to management. You might look at your sales reps and the people and look to see what they're posting, how often they're posting, and that might be a topic for a manager's meeting. How to take LinkedIn, and there's a bunch of great content on YouTube about how to do LinkedIn marketing. So you can go out there and find some of it. But I would encourage that piece of it is that you start with LinkedIn, because LinkedIn's a great place to do some work. Yeah. Somebody popped up. That message was. I can tell you how often this is funny. I used to work with Bernardo. He works for Konica Minolta down in Florida. But it's funny. I posted this message to him on March 2nd, and he responded on April 22nd. So that tells you a little bit about, because I had somebody ask me, they were looking for a management job. It tells you how often he checks his messages on LinkedIn. You know, and again, it's one of those things. It just takes a minute to check. So LinkedIn is one of those tools that I want to encourage you to think about and using. And you know, I'll tell you one of the things that makes doing it real easy. I'll go down to some of my posts here. So there you go. There's an example of a post. This is a company called, there's a website called Quote Fancy. You can get free quotes. And so I'll find something that I think would interest the people that I'm trying to market to or talk to, communicate with. And I'll post like this post, and all I did was post what he said, the quote, and a graphic with that quote on it. And all of that I just copied and pasted. You know? Then of course, like in my case, I do interviews, so I post interviews. I do those quite a bit of those. There's some live things we did. That's an audiogram of a podcast, but see more of the quotes. So a lot of different things that I post, but I post typically probably at least 4 or 5 times a week. Sometimes I'll post 2 or 3 times in a day. And again, I do it because I'm trying to attract, you know, you could think of it as trying to attract attention. And so you know, as you share things that you think people will be interested in, and they don't have to be things you create. So if you for example, if you're marketing locally and you found a link to an article from the local paper that talked about business, and you knew that some of the people you're connected with might find that article interesting, share it. You know, or you find an article in Trade Journal, share it on LinkedIn. You know, and you it starts to build credibility. So that's a piece of that. Okay, so now let me go to share screen here, to a different share screen. So I'll stop that share. And actually, before I do that, actually, let me cancel that. Let me just stop share for a second. Too many things I have to click to make it all work. Slideshow from the beginning. Okay, now I can make that small. Sorry if I talk to myself. Just a bad habit. Okay, now share screen. Okay. All right, so we're going to talk about social media in your company, and we're going to talk about why it matters. A couple of you talked about reviews, so we're going to talk about some strategies, some things to think about. But social media is the lens that other people look at your company through in general. The current statistic is that somewhere between 60 and 80% of the buying decision has been made when someone calls or talks to a sales rep. So that means that your customers are doing research, you know, or your prospects are doing research online. And so they will be looking at LinkedIn. And the younger the buyer, the more of this they do. That's one of those generational shifts. But they're looking at LinkedIn, they're looking at your reviews, and we'll look at some review sites. They're looking at all the information they can find about your company. The fact that your company ranked number 1 in the search is a great thing, especially if it's in, you know, for your, you know, you do a search for your area. If you're number 1, that says you're doing a good job. If you're number 2 or 3, you got a little room for improvement. If you're not on the front page, you're in drastic trouble in your marketplace. Because that means that when somebody Googles copiers in Greenville, North Carolina, if you're not top on the list, or at least on the front page, they're not. Let me ask this question. How many of you, when you're doing a Google search for some information about somebody you might want to do business with, or for looking for a product, go to the second page to look? Okay, that answers your question. If you're not on the front page, you better fix it. You know, and I mean, I know that's none of your all's particular responsibility, but I'm just saying that this is, you know, one of those things that we need to be aware of and think about. So I did that wrong. Those should have come up one at a time. So we're going to go into this next question. Where do most people post information? Because that's the next thing I want to talk about. And we'll talk about your service and your employees, about working for you. How many of you saw any information about working for your company? And did you know well, we'll talk about it. So we'll start with working for you. Glassdoor. It's a company that collects and reviews real salaries from employees of large companies. And they actually do reviews of working for companies of all sizes. So if you're looking to hire somebody, it would behoove you to know what your previous employees have said about your company on Glassdoor. Because that's the kind of thing that somebody that's smart, that's thinking about working for you, they would have looked there to see what people said about you. And an employee, and I would tell you this, if you go to interview somebody because you're in the hiring process and they don't know about your company, I would not interview them, you know, or I would end the interview. Because you guys saw how easy it was to find information on your own company. If you've got somebody that's walked into your office to be interviewed and doesn't know some of that stuff about your company, they're not very interested in the job, you know, because they haven't done their homework. You know, again, when I'm looking for people, I want people that are ambitious, that are thinking, you know, part of it's I want them to understand technology and how to do some of this stuff on their own. You know, so that would be one of those things. Tell me what you know about our company. And if they look at you like deer in the headlights, I'd be like, okay, this isn't going well. I'll sign your unemployment form and you can go away. You know, because that could very well be why they're there. You got to turn in so many applications to keep unemployment. So, I mean, it's one of those things that I'd watch. Anytime you lose an employee, I would look there to see, to make sure, because they could be posting horrible things. And if nothing else, and this applies to all of the places you find negative reviews, you want to respond to them and show that you're paying attention, that you care, and, you know, you don't want to get into a fight online with people about it. I wouldn't necessarily dispute, but you can, if nothing else, go in and post and, you know, and try to do what you can to minimize the damage. Yelp. Yelp.com is crowdsourced local business reviews. Yelp, you find a lot on restaurants, but you may find your business on it. So usually Google will pick it up if you've been reviewed on Yelp, but it is, again, another place to go look. And again, if you got a bad Yelp review, you want to do something about it. Google. So here's something that you should think about and check and see if when you Google your company, does it show up on Google Maps? Because that's just one more way you can get linked back to your website, which is good for SEO. And it is just one more place that people can review you. And it is one more way that you start to get people to know about you. So you want to make sure that your information is on Google Maps. I was doing a business search recently for another project I was working on, and I would say half, or maybe more than half of the businesses in our local area did not have a listing on Google Maps. You know, you could find them on Google, but they didn't show up on Google Maps. And again, it's free. It doesn't cost anything to do that. So I would put that on my list of things to do. Facebook, most of you talked about having web, presence on Facebook. I would say that I would be very aggressive about Facebook posts. If somebody makes a negative comment, obviously you want to respond. But this is true with reviews in general. Anytime, and this should be somebody at the company should be looking at and thinking about this. Anytime somebody sends you a good letter about your company, and we're going to come back to this in another way in a minute. But the first thing I would do is, would you mind sharing that in a review on Google and on Yelp? So that you start to build a litany of positive reviews about your company. And the more reviews about your company they are, the easier and the farther up the list you'll typically move in search. Because, Google looks at how many people are talking about this company. How much information is out there. The fact that most of you found your company easily says you're doing a good job with SEO on your website. But again, it's having other people say good things about you adds credibility. And for people that are out there researching, if they find, because a good example is if I find one review and it's a 5.0 or a 0, I don't put much stock in it. But when I see 100 reviews and they're all 5.0, that conveys a message. Does that make sense? That you can go out there and you just get your stuff out there and get people to comment. And same thing on Facebook. Inclusive, hey, since you liked us, do us a favor. You can pop a comment in Facebook about what you liked about our service. Just share that get them to share it on social media, because then that becomes something that you could share on social media too. Because if you have somebody that's does Twitter, you could have somebody that, hey, just wanted to share and thanks very much to this company, mention the company so they get some profs on social media as well. Thank you for the review, and then share a link to the review. Didn't really have to create any content for it. Somebody else created some content you're just repurposing. But you start to feed the engine, so to speak, of why people should trust you. People buy from people they know, like, and trust. And so when you have a lot of good reviews out there and a lot of good publicity and everywhere let's say everywhere, you think about it from this perspective. If everywhere you looked, you saw a sign that said something good about your company, you'd feel good about that, wouldn't it? Well, that's what social media is. You get to put all these little signs all over the internet that says, hey, Rhyme's good. Hey, Plus is good, whatever. It's just these little tiny signs. And the more your customers see those, the higher the mental rating they will have of your company. Social media. There are forums on LinkedIn for the industry. There are I have 2 groups on the industry. In fact, I'll invite you to both of them if you can connect with me so I can find you easily. And then I'll invite you to both groups, because there's one for people that have been through this class on LinkedIn, but there's also just a service management group on LinkedIn. And it's not hugely active, but there is a copier. There's a huge forum that's really active about copiers. It's got 3,000 or 4,000 members about the industry in general. And so being active and being connected to people that are thought leaders in the industry, then you start to learn what the trends are and what people see coming down the road, how they think people will change. And these are things that are important because you want to be aware of what the outside of the world is thinking about as far as the industry. How many of you read ENX magazine and read Office Technology? Phil does? Okay. Your company should get it. You can get a free subscription for ENX magazine, but it's all about the industry. It's all about the copier business. You should follow Patricia Ames and her Imaging Source, I think is, Imaging Source, because she does a lot of high level, what do people think about it? She'll do panels with industry experts. What do they see happening in the future? But all of these things are things that are designed to help you, again, stay current and connected How many of you have a YouTube presence as a company? Okay. How many of you know what the number 2 search engine in the world is? Somebody should be able to make a guess based on the question. It might be on the slide. Yeah, YouTube. YouTube is the number 2 search engine on the planet. And it makes sense because it's owned by Google. So YouTube videos show up in Google searches. So, you know, and there are so many ways, you know, that you can use YouTube in our industry as a company. And I would encourage you to explore this. So we'll talk, and we're going to talk about some strategies here. Here's the things I think you should post on YouTube. Customer referrals. So now again, we go back, we got this letter from somebody saying, hey, Billy Bob did a good job. So what you do, you send them a quick email, say, hey, listen, would you mind, we're trying to help people understand about our service and how our customers feel. Would you mind hopping on just a quick Zoom call and let me record it and you could tell us about your experience with Billy Bob? And that quickly, you have a YouTube video. It doesn't need any editing. It doesn't need anything. Just, you know, I mean, I personally would trim the ends just, you know, to fix it up just a tiny bit, but I wouldn't worry about it. Now, so think about it. If you were going to go buy from somebody and you went to their website and there were 25 customer reviews all talking about how good Billy Bob was, you know, or how good Rhyme was, or, you know, whatever. Do you think that would be something that might influence you to want to do business with that company? And also use it. You know, in the same conversation, do you mind if I share this on social media? Now guess what you do with that LinkedIn video besides posting it on your website? It becomes a LinkedIn post. It becomes a tweet. It goes on your Facebook page. Okay, leverage the way out of the content. And now what starts to happen is the word gets out that, hey, you guys do a good job. People that search for you on Facebook will find that kind of stuff. People that look on YouTube for it. Okay. I am a fan of, it's a great place to share product videos. You know, and I like, here's the kind of post that I love is, say, hey, we got this brand new device that came out, and somebody talk for just a minute, and you can film a YouTube video. I started doing YouTube travel videos with this. My first 5 or 6, you know, and I'm talking about 30-minute videos, were done with this. And then I started upgrading cameras a little bit, though this is still a great tool. I still use this for videos that I do. Okay? You know, your sales rep can do this. Hey, listen, just want to let you guys know we got a brand new device coming out from Sharp, and it does this and this and this, and it's amazing. To learn more, check out our website. You know, and I mean, you could do it that simply, and have a video. You could do that live. You could do that on LinkedIn Live. You could do that on YouTube Live. You could do that on Facebook Live. That quickly, you could make a video. Doesn't have to be a production. The thing that I think that are great are customer training videos. Think about it from this perspective. How many times do you go out to visit a machine because a customer can't figure out how to do something? They can't find the paper that's jammed. They can't figure out how to duplex a print. You know, they have all of these things they can't do. So imagine having a library, and again, this and a decent light is all you need, showing them how to clear, you know, so maybe you have a picture of the control panel and shows a jam indicator. And then you walk them through in the video, here's all of the places that you might look if you see this light on your control panel. And then your dispatch, when somebody says, hey, I've got this light, says, well, let me do you a favor. I can go ahead and log the call, but I'm going to send you a quick link to a video that may help you get your problem resolved so you're up and running, and that'd be faster than waiting on the tech. Anybody see any value in that as a tool? You know? And again, you know what it costs to set up a YouTube channel? Nothing. Exactly right. You know, and there's free software. All of my videos that I ever post on LinkedIn or any videos that I edit anywhere get processed with free software. You know, I bring it in, I cut out all the ums and the ahs, or I try to. I am really bad. I found out something. If a person starts talking really quickly and then they have like regressions, ums, ahs, you know, or they go back and restart a sentence, it's a sign they're an extrovert. If people are slow to start talking, but they think through what they're going to say before they say it, that's a sign you're an introvert. I did an interview on that. It was kind of interesting because when I started thinking about the editing I do on my videos, I'm like, okay, I'm a very bad extrovert because I tend to start talking way before I, you know, might be like you could see, there's like two of them right there back to back. You might think of it as engaging the mouth before you engage the brain. And I have been known to do that. But anyway, completely off the point. YouTube is a tool that most dealers don't use to the extent they could. And I would encourage you to think about ways that you could use it. So imagine you could get a tech to go in there and somebody could hold a camera and somebody else could shine a light on it, you know, or, I mean, you could use like a shop light just behind him. So it's, you know, off to one side a little bit so that it shines on what you want to show them. And you could walk through how to do it. You know, to clear the paper jam, what the code means, how to reset something. You know, from the connectivity side, you could create videos if your manufacturer doesn't have. Sharp used to have, I don't know if they still do, but they used to have videos available that showed somebody how to go use the print driver. But if not, you could go through. And you think about it from this perspective. What are the questions people ask? You know, what are the problems they have that they should be able to solve themselves, and start creating content that solves that. And then, like I said, you could share it. You know, you always want to link back to your website, which is a great thing. Just one more tool. Okay, so I'll quit talking. I'll quit sharing screen too. So do me a favor in the chat, put a note of what you got out of today's lesson. I guess I should open the chat so I can see what you're saying. Yeah, that one. I love what I'm seeing there. You know, because. And especially if our owners and our leadership is not as socially active as maybe they could be, this is one of those things. And this is again one of those things that if you see areas you guys could get better, write up a document, talk about what you see, what you learned, what you think that your company could do better, and make some suggestions. And then forward it to whoever needs to see it. Because when they see that and they say, oh man, Billy Bob's been thinking about how we could get better. And that's not even necessarily his responsibility, but he's just looking at the big picture for our company. Yeah, one more feather in your cap. So I would encourage you to do that. Yeah, more than one person, Curtis. You know, if you use it effectively, you can have a whole team of people out there. Okay, guys. Well, you guys have a nice weekend. What are we going to talk about? I guess I should look to see. Tell you what we're going to talk about. I think we start numbers. Okay, so on Tuesday, we're going to talk about calls per day, which is the start of our section on service metrics. And on Thursday next week, we're going to talk about parts cost. So that's next week. We're going to talk about calls per day and metrics. So you guys can spend all weekend thinking about that and lay awake at night worried about calls per day and metrics or parts cost. And we will see ya.
All right, thank you, Ken.
Thanks.